Hello, I am Destini and I'm a certified parent coach, which basically just means that I have spent a lot of time learning about the brain and communication and how the way we interact with our children impacts them on a social and emotional level. But beyond coaching, I am a mother of two Black, beautiful daughters who are navigating this world with a mom who is committed to honoring and respecting them, because that is what I want them to expect from themselves and from the people that they choose to be in community with when they become adults. And so I am really honored and grateful to be sharing this space with you to talk about effective communication, because it is one of the most important parenting skills that you can develop. This is going to be a class packed with information, so take notes or come back to it often. I want this to be something that you keep in your back pocket as a resource for when you're feeling off in your parenting, especially because it's such an important topic. How we talk to our children, specifically our Black children, is a conversation that we need to be having. I know how significant communication is and the role that it plays in our homes and our communities. But I also know that we are not often discussing it in a healthy way. Personally, I did not grow up learning about emotional intelligence, nonviolent communication, or anything like that. And I grew up learning that authority is the only voice that really matters. And having an opinion was a lot of times a sign of disrespect. And there was a huge emphasis on respecting others. But the communication that I received did not teach me how to also respect myself. And I'm sure many of you can relate to that. Now, this is not to criticize our parents. I believe that my parents did the best that they could with what they knew. But as we are striving to do better for our children, it is so important to recognize the gaps in our own experiences and how they shape the way that we are parenting today, especially in how we talk to our Black children. I know that the tides are shifting, we are breaking curses, and we are trying to raise our children to love and trust themselves and to advocate for themselves, and that doing so doesn't compromise their ability to respect other people. And that is really the important balance that we as mothers, specifically of Black children, have to learn to cultivate. How do we prepare them for the world? How do we prepare them for the potential limits that they'll face without being their first bully? And so rather than punishing them and forcing compliance, how can we teach them to think critically and make good decisions from a place of confidence? And it really does start with us. When I am working with moms, I typically find them in one of two places. They either don't know how to be firm or they don't know how to be compassionate. But our children, especially our children, they need both. They need the support of clear boundaries, but they also need the warmth of compassionate communication. And so in our time together today, I'm going to give you practical, applicable foundations for how to talk to your children so that you are empowering them, okay? That is the goal, not obedience, but empowered Black children. They will know when to express empathy for others and when to advocate for themselves. And, you know, it means being able to express their needs and respect the needs of others. Being empowered means that the way that they communicate with themselves will be the same compassionate and caring way that you spoke to them. That's what they deserve. And it's honestly what we deserve too, but that is another talk for another day. But for today, I want to provide you with some really great ways to express both power and presence in different parenting scenarios with your kids. These are going to be your parenting scripts. And parenting scripts are just go-to phrases that you can use in stressful situations when your default pattern wants to kick in. This is how we create repetition and habits in how we talk to our children. Now, the thing about scripts is I do not believe in perfect parenting. So please don't think that the point of these scripts is to sound perfect. They are actually here just to remind you that it's okay to not have all the answers. They are a starting point. They are a spark of inspiration. Hey, Lunar. And just a way to help you to feel more confident in communicating with your children. That is the goal, okay? To give them a warm childhood, a calm childhood. And at the same time, you don't have to speak like Mary Poppins, okay? We have tonality and energy and vernacular, and you don't have to completely compromise who you are culturally to be compassionate and warm and intentional in your parenting and have emotional intelligence with them. You can be your authentic self. Okay, so let's get started. The first element of a good parenting script is going to be compassion. There are three, and the first is compassion. I want you to think about if you were validated as a child. Probably not. I know that historically our families have faced a lot of adversity and a lot of tough realities, and so being strong and resilient has been valued over expressing emotion. But that does not mean that Black children do not have emotions. It doesn't mean that we didn't have emotions, right? And so I want you to also ask yourself, how many adults do you know that don't know how to manage their emotions, right? How many of them are not willing to acknowledge that they need help with their emotions, that they need something, that they need support? A lot of us are not able to do that because we did not have that compassionate, understanding caregiver to validate our experiences and our feelings and help reflect back to us what was happening for us internally. But we need that. And so our children do as well. And so when we communicate with them, we need to communicate with compassion, okay? And we'll talk about that more a little bit later. Next is curiosity. So curiosity in parenting is about seeing conflicts and challenges as chances to learn more about your child's thoughts and feelings and experiences. And it is about asking questions and listening without judgment, okay? You need to pause there for a second. We need to stop judging our children, because how we label and judge them is going to impact how they label and judge themselves and how they will show up in the world. And so your child is not lazy. That's a judgment. Now, saying you didn't clean your room, that is an observation, okay? Judgments teach them to judge themselves and to judge others, but observations teach them to see and solve problems, right? And then the last element of a good parenting script is clarity, okay? Express your thoughts, your ideas, your expectations in a straightforward and understandable way consistently. We have to learn to take the emotional charge out of communication. And emotion shows up in things like repeating ourselves over and over with a frustrated tone, or screaming, or negotiating back and forth endlessly because we're scared to hurt their feelings, right? But to empower our children, we need to be leading with confidence and have confidence in our parenting decisions, especially in the moment, right? I am all for teaching our children to be negotiators and to advocate for themselves. But when we've led with compassion and curiosity, and limits and values are clear and the boundaries are set, it is more than okay to stand on business, okay? In most cases, in the moment is not the time to negotiate with them. And this can have negative effects on our children's self-esteem, because having a consistent leader is so important for them to feel safe in their routines and in their environment. Plus, clarity and communication reduces the likelihood of misunderstandings and sets your child up to succeed in meeting the expectations. So evaluate your communication with your child based on those criteria. Was I compassionate? Was I curious? And was I clear? So for the rest of our time, I want to talk about what that might actually look like in the moment and with different situations. So let's start with clarifying the expectations. Clear expectations are like a roadmap, and they help everyone stay on the same page, okay? Notice I said everyone, because our values should be guiding all of our behavior. Our children learn so much by observing us, and so if we are not modeling the importance of the expectations in our actions, but also in our consistency and support, then we are failing them, right? If cleanliness is really a value, why isn't your room clean, mama? Or if education is something you really genuinely value, why do you keep taking the video game even though the grade isn't going up? Why haven't you modeled the importance of that value in your support and gotten them a tutor, right? The expectations have to be modeled and communicated in our actions. But here are some effective ways to communicate them with our words, communicating those expectations. So first is I expect plus a question. Notice here we are curious without changing the expectations. So I expect us to keep our living room clean. What part do you want to take care of? Leading with curiosity, not judgment, while maintaining the expectation. Another way to communicate the expectation is an affirming statement and a question. Leading with an affirmation, that is something that our children deserve to experience. They deserve to experience us seeing them in their highest. So that could be something like, I know you are capable of expressing yourself respectfully. Do you want to talk about this without raising your voice, or should we come back to it? Or you're typically pretty good at caring for your sister. How can you show her that you're sorry for what happened? Now, if you are not used to affirming your child, first of all, it is okay. A lot of us did not have that modeled But I want you to really try this one and notice how you feel when you affirm instead of jumping on them first. Like the first time, don't focus on them. If they're conditioned to only respond when you are harsh, it's not likely that it'll change their behavior, okay? At least not at first. I just want you to focus on how it changes you. And then the last script for setting expectations is an I statement and a collaborative question. So this one is major, and I will tell you why. This will go a long way in teaching them how to collaborate and be in community with others. Parents get so caught up in teaching right and wrong, but fail to teach their kids how to honor other people, even when they don't think like them or have the same needs as them. So we are shifting from that's bad to this doesn't work for me. I would appreciate blank. This is what I want. And you're not wrong for wanting something else, but in this family, we consider everyone's needs when we solve problems. And so we have gotten away from like the communal element and have leaned more toward mom falls on the sword until she's fed up and then the kids have to comply and obey. But your home is a community, and it is okay if your needs differ from your child's. Express them as your needs, right? Not as rights or wrongs. And you'll see the same kind of flexibility with your children as they get older and their values and their opinions start to differ from yours. They will be able to express those things respectfully because you modeled it. So here's an example I am sure a lot of us can relate to, especially if you had the rushing mom or if you are the rushing mom, right? So you could say something like, being on time is really important to me. So I want us to be on time today. How can I support you to get out the door? No judgment, no yelling, but also no walking around being mad because no one seems to care but you, right? No, express your needs and work with your kids to figure out healthy ways to get them met, just like you would do their needs. Because again, you are in a community and you're teaching them how to be in community with others. So we talked about how to express our expectations, but what happens when they are not meeting the expectations? What do we do then? Well, first of all, please expect them to not meet the expectations sometimes. Expect them to make mistakes. They are humans. But how we respond to those mistakes and to disobedience is literally molding and shaping their sense of self, right? So we don't just give in, ignore the expectation, because that's not going to lead to much confidence in the long run. But do we come down on them or punish them so they do the behavior quickly? That may change the behavior in the moment, but what does that do to their self-esteem and to our connection, right? And so this is where we are going to lean heavy into those observations like I talked about earlier with a curious question. And so something like, I noticed you didn't do your homework. What's up? Or I notice that when you spend too much time on your tablet before bed, you typically feel worse in the morning. So let's talk about a better choice that we can make. I noticed is my go-to to make sure that I'm observing and not judging. It has saved me so many times and led to the most beautiful conversations where I watch my kids participate in solving their own problems, right? And so in the example, if I come in and yell, scare her to get her homework done, the homework is done, yes, but what about the reason that she wasn't doing the homework in the first place? Sometimes we will solve a symptom but ignore the root cause. So especially when a behavior is repetitive and you're not seeing improvement, start making observations and asking curious questions. So an observation plus a question. Another helpful script for when they do not meet the expectation is validation and a request or a command. I use command really lightly here because it has a negative connotation, but it just means telling them to do something, okay? You don't have to be demanding to make a command. Personally, I would consider myself a gentle parent because I know the difference between gentle and permissive parenting, but don't let some of these gentle parenting experts convince you that, can you brush your teeth is okay, but hey, go brush your teeth is gonna ruin your child, right? So validation plus a request or command. I can see that you're feeling really frustrated right now. Tell me with your words, not your actions, right? Validated what they were feeling, told them what they could do instead. Another one might be, I understand why you wanna go to the party. Can you give me a few minutes to think about my answer? Or I know you're tired, my hands are full, so you're gonna have to walk. That was me yesterday because my 6-year-old still thinks that she weighs 10 pounds when she falls asleep in the car on the way home, right? So let's review. When we're setting an expectation, we can say, I expect plus a collaborative question. We can use an affirming statement and a collaborative question, or an I statement plus a collaborative question. And then if they make a mistake or they don't follow through on the expectation, we can make an observation and we can ask a question to better understand the why or what's underneath the behavior before we discipline, right? Or we can validate them and make a request or a command. That word still irritates me. I gotta think of something else, but you know what I mean. So to conclude, I just want to go over a few things to consider to really take these foundational communication skills and make them unique to you and your family, because every child is different, which brings me to the first thing. Know your child. You need to know your child, okay? When it comes to effective parenting, truly understanding your kid is key. It is more than just knowing their favorite color or what they like to eat. It's about deeply grasping their personality as it's changing and their communication style and their unique preferences so that you can connect with them in a way that truly resonates, okay? It is easy to expect them to march to the beat of our drum, but I am telling you, it is a gift to allow your child to show you who they are and for you to love them accordingly. Okay, so know your child. Next, really important, consider their developmental stage, okay? So adjust your language and expectations to fit their age and level of developmental maturity. What works for a toddler isn't going to necessarily work for them when they're a preteen, okay? So you gotta be flexible as they learn and grow, and I highly recommend learning about developmental stages and how your children are receiving and interpreting information at different points in their lives as their brains grow. For example, if you have a smaller dysregulated child, all those words, right? I know you're mad. It's okay to be mad, but we don't behave like this. You're not always gonna get your way. You need to use your words. That is too much, okay? If they're on the floor flailing around, that is too much, okay? It goes back to brain development. If they are at a 10, they're not operating in rationalizing centers of their brain, and your rational statements are being fed through an emotional or survival state filter, okay? So they are gonna scream louder or say something irrational, like, you never get me anything, right? It's not going to work, and you are gonna end up screaming or forcing them to do it or give in. And I am sure some people are gonna say, you know, I'm not dealing with all of that, I'll just pop them, or they know not to play with me. But guess what? When we use fear and control, we are showing them that in order to get what you want in a situation, you have to power over someone. And they're either going to mirror that to you in your relationship as they continue to grow and continue to tantrum, or they're gonna treat others like that, or like many of us women, they will latch onto relationships that mimic that same power dynamic, that power over. And so we have to be willing to show them emotional containment. And sometimes that means picking them up, calmly walking them out the grocery store and explaining to them why they weren't able to get the candy after they calm down, okay? Learn about development. Next is timing, which is very similar and also so important. Not every situation needs an immediate response, okay? Some conversations are best held when everyone is calm, while others may require a prompt reaction, but choosing the right moment to talk about important issues can greatly influence the outcome. I know some of us are fixers and we really wanna fix it, we wanna match their energy, but sometimes we just need to shut up. If your preteen rolling her neck and raising her tone makes you wanna roll your neck and raise your tone, pause, take 5, go pray, go meditate, regroup, and come back to a script, right? I don't appreciate being spoken to that way. I know you want me to hear what you have to say, so let's try again. Which leads me to my final point and where I will close. Seek help when you need it, please, okay? It is so important for my mothers. We are parenting children who the world isn't always gonna be the kindest to, and in a world that isn't always the kindest to us. So seek help when you need it. Your child has specific needs and you can't meet all of those needs on your own. So if no matter how hard you're trying, emotionally intelligent communication and respectful parenting are a struggle for you, it is okay to get help. If your child is really struggling, it's okay to get them help. I don't know if it is a mistrust that our community has or if it goes back to the historical dangers of showing weakness. I'm sure it's both amongst many other things. But the idea that we are supposed to bear our challenges on our own is stifling our growth. It is keeping us stuck. And it's normalizing behaviors that should not be normalized. So if you are having a hard time, seek help, okay? If you or your child needs mental health support, I'm a strong advocate for therapy. If you are struggling with implementing certain skills and you just need some accountability, please reach out to me and I can share some of the ways that I can support you either one-on-one or in my group. I hope that you enjoyed this session. Like I said, come back to it whenever you need it. Community is so important to me. So once again, feel free to reach out. Please, 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 let's take care of ourselves. Better yet, let's find resources and people to help take care of ourselves so we can take care of our beautiful blessings that God gave us, because that is what we all deserve.